Welcome back, everybody, to Hurdle the Line. This is our second show this week, as per the new format of the preview and review shows. This is our preview for week 2. And before we get properly into it, you may notice that I am your host, Fletch. And with me today, I have 2 Patriots fans. I'm being double teamed by Pats. They're all coming out the woodwork now. They've won in week 1. Karl, DJ, how are you both?
We're good. We are very, very good. You could say we've got a smile on our face saying that everyone writ us off on not being Cincinnati, and well, it's nice to knock the taste out of their mouth when we actually do. But no, overall, I'm all good, mate. And yeah, I believe I won the Pick'em League this week, if I'm not mistaken, or win round 1 anyway.
Rigged.
Yeah.
Oh, rigged. Yeah, I'm the one. I was the only one out of this sort that chose the Patriots. Go suck. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you did get that one.
Yeah, we'll get on to the pick'ems in just a little bit. But to start off with, obviously, we now have to split up the break the huddle, which might make the next few weeks a little bit easier. But DJ, I do believe you've collated a few news pieces for us since Monday when the review lads touched on some of the games. Do you want to hit us with what you've got?
Yeah, so the main kind of news that's come out of the NFL this week is it's mainly injury news. Obviously, things have occurred in week 1 since the Monday show. So we've got Puka Nacua. He's got a PCL injury and he's now effectively gone on IR. So he is going to be missing the next 4 weeks. So it's good to see if who can kind of step up in this position. And obviously they've got a Cup, which is probably going to be Stafford's main go-to guy. But like I say, it's just going to see who can actually step into his shoes. Willis, he's effectively going to start for the Packers unless Jordan Love is healthy enough to start. I think they said they might give him up to a couple of hours before game day. They'll warm him up and they'll assess him how he's feeling. But it does kind of seem that Willis is going to be the starter. There was a couple of rumours up in the air that they didn't know if they were going to go for Willis or they were going to look for someone else on the free agency market. But I think they are going to stick to Willis. Another quarterback that's officially been mentioned as a starter is the Steelers quarterback. So they've Tomlin's come out saying that he's got full confidence in Justin Fields, the way he performed against the Atlanta Falcons, and I think he's been given the nod to go ahead and start for week 2. Obviously, Wilson's still got that injury from calf, so I don't think they want to kind of like rush him into things if he's predominantly going to be the starter. Rams O-line, I can't remember specifically who, but I think they're all banged up. I think No Boom was one of them, and there was another lad that he might be going on IR as well. I think it's the centre. So again, that's going to massively hit their O-line and protection of Stafford. See how they kind of come up in the matchup there against. I think they've got a divisional matchup this week against Cardinal, so we'll see how that pans out. Christian McCaffrey. So obviously he was announced injured out right before the game, which may have screwed up a couple of people on the fantasy side of things. He's officially might be missing a couple more weeks because he's still got a calf and now all of a sudden an Achilles injury as well. Don't know if that's something new or they're trying to kind of keep an eye on, but that's what's been brought forward this week. Then we've also got Derek Brown, defensive tackle from the Panthers, is out for the season. So he's got a knee injury there. He's a bit old now, so I don't know if it could be his day to call it quits, but we'll see. And then last but not least, Deshaun Watson. So we'll just touch base on this one. He's got apparently new allegations of sexual assault came out. I think this was back in 2020. So we don't know if this is a new allegation or it's a an existing one that was known about beforehand, but still he's done a media conference and he strongly denies allegations, which he's done in the past before. But again, this is another issue for the Browns, whereas their quarterback is going to be in some sort of trouble, I guess.
Yeah.
Apart from that side of things, I don't know if we want to touch into a couple of bits and bobs, but that's kind of what we had for the break in the huddle this week.
Yeah, so I think it's one of them. I think I just want to kind of not address. It's not really my position to address, but I've seen a couple of questions go on about the Deshaun Watson situation. One thing that you need to know of is actually speaking to someone the other day. If this was a brand new allegation, the likelihood is you would have heard off the NFL within minutes of it coming out. A statement would have more than likely been made. Okay, maybe not minutes, but very quickly a statement would have come out, and as well from the Browns. This would indicate that potentially it's not a brand new allegation, just one that's just been brought forward into the public eye. Where that, however true that is, I don't know. Just what we know of the NFL is they're going to be very, very quick to bring out a statement if it was brand new. What this means for the Browns and Deshaun Watson going forward is obviously an investigation will probably end up going into it. If the Browns knew about it beforehand, and like I say, if it wasn't a brand new allegation, just one that's just been brought to light, we can't really expect for much more to be done about it. He would have been given that contract and served punishment post knowing about it. They can't act. They can't act on something and say, well, now it's public, we can act again on it. They've acted upon it. If it is brand new, then expect an investigation. Then whatever comes out of that will come out of that. It's not our place to speculate on what will happen, what should happen. I think it's just to say, like, look, it depends on a couple of different factors, what will happen, and then just let what happens, I think.
I think the NFL have come out saying they're not going to place him on the exemption list, if that means anything. So I don't think they will act until something's done about it, because they would have probably suspended him by now by all the allegations that they received. So
it's a sad reality to live in certain circumstances, and I know it's not exactly the same thing, but it was a question that was asked regarding Cam Sutton earlier in the off-season when he went through something when he was at the Lions. Now, the problem
he got re-signed, didn't he?
Pardon? Yeah, he was at the Steelers.
Did he not get re-signed? Yeah.
He went to the Steelers. The thing that you end up finding is if you act quickly and cut, let's take the contract situation out of it. That is its own different animal. If you act quickly and cut, it's kind of a sad reality that, like, if the charges get dropped, or if, I don't know, it goes through the appropriate proceedings and they're found not guilty, found
bad on the team.
You're then in for a lawsuit, and not only for money lost by the contract, but there's all sorts of things. You are inviting trouble down the road. You have to wait for an investigation to be done. You can suspend someone without pay, but obviously then, other things will go on within that. But again, you can't even just do that retro. The appropriate things have to be done first.
I think we did something similar with the guy that got guns in the airport in his suitcase. What was his name? Jones? Was it Jones?
Yeah, Jack Jones.
Jackson? Jack Jones, yeah. Where we knew the Patriots knew about the allegations and but we never cut him, or they never did cut them until it was established, and then everything dropped. So it was like, okay, then we cut the guy after, I think, because
I mean, again, it's actually a similar situation, but different sport. Benjamin Mendy, and again, I don't want to kind of keep stay on this conversation, but Benjamin Mendy sued Manchester City Football Club because he was found not guilty in court. They suspended him without pay for 2 seasons, and then never picked up his contract after that, or he never got a new contract. So he sued Manchester City for a lot of money because of all the money he'd lost throughout that. Whatever you just, as a business, you can't act based on, oh well, all this chaos. You have to think about a variety of other things. Anyway, moving on. With a couple of bits of the injury stuff. As far as I know we can probably get into some of the implications as we look to a couple of the games going forward, because a lot of these injuries have implications on games that we're going to be watching over the weekend. We can look back at one of those, though, and say, because I want to talk a bit about Monday Night Football. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, out. However, cometh the hour, cometh the man. You would almost think that Christian McCaffrey was playing with the way they were running the ball. Absolutely brilliant as they beat the Jets. 32-19 on Monday Night Football. What were your initial thoughts of the game? I don't know if you watched it or got much in there.
I watched mostly the highlights throughout the entirety of that game. What looked to me stand out are two teams. One which, when you think about it, when a team comes off a Super Bowl loss, they're always the team that always suffers the hangover, that always kind of struggles and not quite in sync properly. The 49ers picked up where they left off. You know, Brock Purdy barely did anything wrong. He relied solely on the talent, on the extreme amount of talent that he's got around him. You know, Deebo Samuel was great as always. Kittle was getting involved in the action. But Jordan Mason, for him to step into Christian McCaffrey's shoes and then go up against probably one of the most elite. It was going into the season. The Jets were one of the best defenses going in the NFL, or rather, so what the power rankings said there was anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He ran all over them for 147 yards.
Yeah,
that's great news for him. B, that is alarming if you're a Jets fan. How the hell have you let a backup run all over you for $147? That's not good. Also, as well, the 49ers, you know, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick. George Kittle's a 5th round pick. They've got another receiver out there who's a 7th round pick as well. They went up and still slapped the hell out of the Jets' defense, had a smattering of 1st round picks.
Yeah.
What's the common denominator of all of that? Coaching. Kyle Shanahan is head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to scheming, when it comes to coaching. This is why I say going into this season, the hottest seat right now is going to probably end up being on Robert Saleh. You can't go into another you can't go 3 straight years of having 10 plus losses and still go into this one. Okay, Aaron Rodgers only played 4 snaps last year, which we're going to get into Aaron Rodgers in a minute. He only played 4 snaps last year, but you still couldn't. You still can get above a 500 record with Zach Wilson and rely on your defense as well. We move into this game. Defense fell apart. Breece Hall couldn't run the ball, and Aaron Rodgers looked like a rickety old jalopy under center. He didn't look comfortable at all.
He looked,
You know, he threw some nice he had some nice third down completions to Garrett Wilson, and obviously a touchdown to Alan Lazard as well, which no one had in fantasy. No one. But you could just tell that this Jets team was not prepared. They were not prepared for this. And it begs the question now, because they've just gone all the way out to San Francisco. Now they've got to go to Tennessee. And then they turn around a short week at home on Thursday Night Football. 3 games that we know that the Jets have got to at least win one of them. If not 2 of them, to actually stand a chance of making the playoffs. As I said, I don't think they'll win the division. It's either the Dolphins or the Bills to lose. I think it's probably going to be the Dolphins that'll pip it just about. But the Jets are just feel like, you know, they have to make the playoffs. But they don't want the playoffs. They want to make the Super Bowl. That's what they deemed it. That's why they brought Aaron Rodgers in. But he's not the final piece to the jigsaw. There's more to it than that. You need a better coach. I don't think Robert Saleh is the coach that's going to lead the Jets there. You know, if you just let him coach the defense and let's say, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers play quarterback coach, then there's a chance of that, of maybe coming true. But in that game, 49ers, they look like a well-oiled machine. They looked like they had started where they left off last year. And the Jets just looked ill-prepared, and they look sloppy as well. They look sloppy as well. Watching out, the offensive line protected Rodgers as well as they could, but I don't think they rushed Rodgers off his spot enough for me. And this is a 49ers front seven, which is very, very used to getting a quarterback off his feet very quickly. So, but it is week 1. It's a small sample size. We'll see what happens in week 2. But great win for the Niners. They move forward. The Jets, they better buckle down fast. The AFC's a gauntlet.
Yeah. DJ, what were your thoughts from Monday night?
Just a quick recap, really. I think the 49ers definitely was the overpowering team here in this matchup, and the Jets seemed a bit lost. I mean, they had a really good first quarter where they went up 7-3, and you would have thought, well, hold on here, the Jets are actually going to do something here, and then it just, at the second, the third, and the fourth, it just all crumbled. Rodgers didn't look comfy at all. I don't know if that's pre-game nervousness, his injury, etc. I just feel that he needs time to still kind of get back into the groove of things after missing last year. So, but yeah, it was a great overall performance from the 49ers. You can't really take it away from them. And like you say, who's CMC? Because you've got Mason there just racking up 147 for a touchdown. It's like, could be a really good double duo here of running back. So
yeah, and it's not just that Mason got the numbers; he looked damn good while doing it as well. It's not like it looked like everyone was doing the heavy lifting for him. He looked bloody good while doing it. Just a couple of the stats from that game. Look, you've already mentioned Mason with 28 attempts, 147 yards and a touchdown, along of 24. Breece Hall, 16 attempts, 54 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers ended the game 13 completions off 21 attempts with 167 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Brock Purdy ended 19 of 29 for 231 yards. The top receiver for the Jets was Alan Lazard, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Whereas Juwan Jennings for the Niners, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 64 yards. They had no touchdowns in the air, the 49ers as well. The main thing for me as well, though, with the Jets was, 2 things. 2 turnovers to 49ers, no turnovers. 1 interception, 1 fumble that they lost. And the fact that, like I say, they started out, not only did they go, 7-3 up at the end of the first quarter, even on the next drive, they held the 49ers to start off with to 2 field goals. And you thought maybe they've got something here that they can work on, but like I say, nothing really much after that. And as someone who is a professional Aaron Rodgers hater, I thoroughly enjoyed watching his first 2 drives end in absolutely nothing. As someone who, again, is the fan of a team where his last completion before that game was an interception by Kirby Joseph at the end of the 2022 season, was very much enjoying watching Kirby Joseph continue to remain the last person that Aaron Rodgers threw a pass to. Watching him then get benched by Tyrod Taylor, I know it was a case of, look, just don't risk him getting hurt. The game's pretty much gone. Let him sit down. But I don't care. To watch Aaron Rodgers get benched by Tyrod Taylor has made my week.
And Tyrod Taylor as well, when he was on that drive, he literally marched him down for 80 yards and got a touchdown.
Yep. To which...
With ease. With absolute ease.
His stats were 6 of 8, 36 yards, a touchdown, and a passer rating, or QB rating, of 122.9.
Start him instead of We know that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen.
But, it felt like it was like I say, I get double teamed this week with just 2 Pats fans, and I'm on my own. But one thing I think we can all share this year is hating the Jets. I hate Aaron Rodgers. You both hate the Jets because they're in your division, so we can all just lavish in the fact that the Jets lost.
There'll be a different level of hate on next Thursday, I can guarantee you that right now.
which is absolutely fine. The moving on anyway, so that was our week. In fact, no, one more thing to say on the week 1 game. Karl, I want to throw this kind of more to you. A lot has been made about Mason and his post-game interview, revealing that he found out he was starting on Friday. Now, my thing to you is I heard that and I didn't think anything of it. And then obviously been brought forward about betting, about fantasy football. I know you mentioned fantasy football earlier, DJ. A lot of people were upset that maybe Mason found out on Friday he was the starter and we all got left to find out on Sunday. I'm glad I don't have Christian McCaffrey in any of my leagues, so I didn't get to feel the letdown or whatever. What do you think? Is it Better's fault for betting on a Christian McCaffrey who was injured? Or, should the 49ers be in a little bit of trouble for that?
Don't be a fool. Gamble responsibly. That's all I will say to that. Look, I ain't got CMC in any of my leagues at all. I don't, so it never bothered me one bit. I can see why fantasy people would be up in that, would be losing their marbles over it. The fact that they only found out like literally on the 11th hour before the game, and that really annoyed a lot of people. But at the end of the day, an organization could do what the hell they want with their players. If they believe that Mason is going to be their running back for the Monday Night Football game and they released it on a Friday, would have been better to express it to the media a little bit more and say, yeah, Christian's not going to be playing, Mason will be starting instead of McCaffrey and so on. It probably would give a little bit of clarity, shall we say, a little bit of context. But on the other idea, all this is good for, helpful for is fantasy people. Yeah, that's really fantasy and gamblers. That was really all it was for. And the 49ers were like, whatever.
I mean,
we'll put Mason
the
in.
Niners, they don't have an obligation to say when they feel that their players are out. They can go up to like an hour before or half an hour before. He could have gone out and warm up, and then they decided, no, you're not gonna play. Again, I guess it could be that the 49ers are keeping their cards to their chest and they didn't want to release any immediate gameplay.
Most of the time, you'll find out from most organizations if a player's questionable and then they say game time decision, they basically are going to go through their warm up work through the game
and then say
before the game, and then announce it. And if they are going to be, I mean, that's what they do.
Similar to a Chase.
It's something different. But the 49ers are obviously saying that if they put Mason in on Friday, so yeah, Mason's going to be our running back on Friday, then there's obviously something a little bit more serious with CMC's injury. Because why would they do it otherwise? Otherwise, CMC could have had limited participation, practice through the warm-up, and then say, no, he ain't playing, we're putting Mason, he's not quite there, he's not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
It's called PR. I call that PR. 49ers don't believe in PR. They'd rather be straight up and honest about it.
Going back to the whole betting scenario, I think this is more for Fletch. Was this the whole issue with that company that put out and then decided to change?
No. I've just seen a lot of people complain in general.
I thought they made a change.
That was shady. So a couple of betting companies pulling out and changing odds after the game had been done. That's shady and completely different in its own thing. It was more just the fact, the amount of people who complained and said, "Oh, but I put a bet on for Christian McCaffrey to get X amount of yards," and when I could have known 2 days before that he wasn't playing. Just people who generally complained about that. Yeah. To which I say, you've got a RB1 who hasn't played for 3 weeks. As my take on it, you've got an RB1 hasn't played for 3 weeks. Okay, he's Christian McCaffrey, but he hasn't played for 3 weeks. At least he hasn't played in preseason. He's going into his first game and he's still got an injury bothering him. At best, he'll be on snap count. At very, very best, he'll be on a snap count. Don't go taking overs on his yards from scrimmage, unless it's like 4 yards from scrimmage. And it's just a daft place to be if you're putting bets on like that, personally. Similar to Karl. Gamble responsibly. Don't be a donut and bet on... bet on those situations. But we can probably get into this discussion on a couple more of the games coming up. So we'll start off tonight. Tonight is the point we're recording. In just a few hours, obviously, by the time you're listening to this game will have been and gone. We have a divisional matchup that will feel very close to home for my two wonderful co-hosts here in the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins, both of which came out with, well, the Buffalo win wasn't as close as it ended up turning out to be, but still felt like, well, still was a one-score game. The the Dolphins got away with a one-score game. How do we see this one playing out?
I think it's going to be a tough for both of them, for both parties. I don't think week one, again, you never know what's going to happen on week one. There's all full of surprises left, right, and centre. Both teams, to me, didn't seem convincing enough to win that game that they had. I mean, Miami went to, was it a last field goal to win the game?
Yes.
I think it was, against the Jags. The Jags looked dominantly in control of that game, but obviously the Dolphins then came back. And again, the Bills, on the flip side, they kind of had most of the control, but they let the Cardinals back in. Cardinals have an opportunity, if they would have threw it to Harrison, to get that touchdown, and they would have made the Cardinals get victorious there. So again, this is a tough divisional matchup with, I think they're at home to Miami. So yeah, it could go either way in this match, but it's a good matchup. Buffalo's got some slight issues with the QB as well, where I think he's got handed. Allen, saw reports saying that he was quite limited to practice because of his hand. He's got right hand issues. So, yeah. But he was cleared by, I think it's by Wednesday, Thursday to practice. So yeah, Hard Rock's going to be a difficult game to go to and kind of wipe Miami apart, but. Yeah, it's going to be a close game, I think.
What about you, Karl? This is a game of what? I said this on another podcast a couple of days ago. 3 inevitabilities in life. Okay, there's multiple of them, but 3 things are inevitable in life. Death, taxes, and Tua Tagovailoa throwing for the most passing yards in the NFL. Game of maybe an explosive quarterback versus an explosive wide receiver who just so happens to be on the other side of the field with Tua. Gonna hopefully be a massively offensive game tonight.
It should be, but I'll give you one irrelevant stat and I'll give you one real stat. So the irrelevant stat is Tua Tagovailoa is 10-0 against the Patriots. He is 1-6 against Josh Allen and the Bills. What does that tell you? Even though Tua has got pretty much a 4x100 track team as his receivers and his running backs, they still can't quite get over the hump with Josh Allen. I think Buffalo's defense has taken a huge hit. Demarius White's not there anymore. Poyer's not there anymore. Micah Hyde's not there anymore. That's huge losses on their secondary.
Yeah.
Okay, they got Von Miller still there, but they've lost their best linebacker, Matt Milano. He was key to them. He is absolutely key to them, and that's to that middle of the defense. And they've lost him, and I think that's going to be absolutely massive. With Miami, I always look at Miami. They're always like 1 or 2 pieces missing away from actually being there.
Yeah.
I think what Mike McDaniel has done for Miami, I think he's done really, really well, even though I still think he looks like the freaking skinny kid from Road Trip. But I always just feel like there's something missing. Raheem Mostert is apparently out with injury. Davon Achane is game time decision. And if he don't go, they've still got another speedster. So if anybody ever watched Miami in the preseason, running back by the name of Jalen Wright might be playing. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Even though this will be out on Friday, so if you have got a
keep an eye out on the highlights.
Keep an eye out on the highlights. So if you've got A-Chan, make sure you keep him out. I just think this should be it should be a free scoring game. I don't think it's going to be that way. Something just tells me what Buffalo did to Arizona. Arizona's defense is okay, but it's not great. I reckon Miami's is slightly a little bit better. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game right now. But you're telling me what I think of this game from a Patriots fan perspective. I really don't care. I really don't care. I wish Bane will just blow up the stadium. He was never a villain. He was a visionary. So yeah, that's how much I care about it. But for a neutral, I think this is one of the best Thursday night games you could probably have. And it's about time as well, because the Thursday night football, they put on some absolute dross. You don't need to. We don't need to go back through the history of Thursday night football. It is a dross fixture, and Amazon pay $80 million for each game. Yikes!
Yeah. Quite so. I want to go through. I think we've got a couple of stats here that I want to read out that have been provided to me via a very lovely company called the National Football League. No, I'm not reading through all of them. Bum that. But yeah, it should be a very interesting and exciting game. I will try and stay up as much as I can and watch a good chunk of it. We'll see if it turns out to be a really good game. Obviously, well, you just don't want to go over a really good game. But we'll see how it pans out. We'll discuss. Well, we'll get into who you think's going to win later on. But for anyone, again, if you listen, don't want to beat on this one too much, just because. Well, by the time anyone gets the chance to listen to this, the game's been done. So I hope you enjoyed watching it or watched the highlights. Next up, so this week we have from games that you can actually watch after we've spoken about them. On Sunday, 6 p.m. kickoffs, we've got the Raiders at the Ravens, then we've got the Chargers at the Panthers. Ouch. We've got the Saints at the Cowboys. Which, by the way, a fun fact about those two games: the Chargers at the Panthers. There are tickets going to that game for $25. They are the cheapest tickets in the NFL this weekend. Go over to the Saints at the Cowboys. There are tickets going in that game for, I believe it's $2,500 and something dollars. The most expensive in the NFL. So you could buy over 100 tickets to watch the Panthers in North Carolina this week for one of those tickets in Dallas. Now, obviously, you're talking I'm pretty sure you're talking suites in the stadium, but that still doesn't change the fact you can get 100 tickets at Carolina. One of those tickets is so ridiculously expensive and not worth the money you'll pay for it. The other one is a ticket to watch the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't mean to lower the tone, but is that most expensive ticket Jerry Jones's lap?
Possibly. But yeah, so one of those tickets is ridiculously expensive for what you get. The other one is a ticket to watch the Dallas Cowboys. Then we've got a rematch of the divisional round in the NFC as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to the mighty Detroit Lions. The Indianapolis Colts take on the Green Bay Packers. The Cleveland Browns are at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The San Francisco 49ers travel to Minnesota and take on the Vikings. The Seahawks take on the Patriots. The Jets take on the Titans. And finally, out of that slate, the Giants take on the Commanders. San Francisco 49ers, Minnesota Vikings. They are the Sky Sports game. So if you have the zone, the game will be blacked out. Then in the evening games, at 9 o'clock, LA Rams versus the Cardinals. The Steelers at the Broncos. 20 minutes later, Bengals at Chiefs, which is also blacked out on Game Pass. Then in the... Oh, wait, no, that one was... the Steelers... Broncos is 25 past. Then finally, you've got the Chicago Bears at the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football and the Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. I'm going to personally pick out a game here that I think is going to be very exciting. And like I say, it's a rematch. I hold my hands up. The Detroit Lions are this one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. A rematch of last year's divisional round. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers looked, granted, against the Washington Commanders, but looked pretty damn good. That defense is for real in Tampa. And the Lions, we got through on a squeak against the Rams in overtime. This one could be a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably one of my top games to watch out for, because you've got the likes of Baker Mayfield. He's just come off a 4-touchdown performance. I know, like you just said, it was against Washington, but I guess this is probably a good enough game to see what the Bucs are properly made of. And again, probably for the Lions as well in that respect as well. So it's going to be another good close matchup. See if they can both carry on the winning victories, and we'll see. Yep.
So, hang on, we're just waiting for this tab to load. Karl, where do you think a game like this can be won and lost?
I mean, I predicted, was it last week, it'll be Lions and Rams will end up with a barn burner in a 70-pointer, and I was completely miles off, so I've got to rein myself back in for this one. But this Tampa Bay offense is actually very, very good. And Baker Mayfield is once again showing not just Cleveland, but showing everybody else what he can actually do when he's actually got a good cast around him. Defensively, I think the Bucs are going to be a bit susceptible. I don't think they are as strong as what they were last season. They've got a couple of pieces in their secondary banged up to injury, gone to IR. So that's going to be a bit of a test for them. With the Lions, I think it's a case of, you squeak through against the Rams, but the Bucs defense is nowhere near like the Rams defense, in my own personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I can say the Lions need to continue what they were doing, but when you get to the red zone, you've got to try and convert, because there's a certain 6'7", 1,000-yard receiver for every year for the last 10 years in the name of Mike Evans, beg your pardon, that's going to want something to say about it. He's going to be huge. You've got Chris Godwin in the slot. That's going to be pivotal. McMillan, I think his name is a third-string receiver. You've got to keep an eye out on him as well. And also, K-Dot on their tight end. Underrated. Very, very underrated tight end. So this will be a very interesting game for me to watch. I think it's going to be one of the funnest ones out of everything. Again, I've said that last 2 weeks now, and it's always been a nail biter. So, but this is going to be a game where the Buccaneers will be able to say to themselves, are we actually a top 8 team in the NFC, or are we a top 4 team in the NFC?
Yeah. Because
they're only one play shy of knocking you out in the divisional round. They need to, and if they can, if they can not turn back the clock, but if they could actually rewrite the wrong that they did, this Bucs team might actually be more dangerous than what we've given them credit for. But yeah, bring it on. This is going to be one heck of a game.
Yeah, we were that Derek Barnes interception. And in the last game as well, Mike Evans went for, I got it up here, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 147 yards. They just spammed it. Whenever he was opposite Cam Sutton, Baker Mayfield just kind of, I think he laughed pre-snap and just went, well, there we go. That's a touchdown. Or there's a reception.
He's there somewhere.
For 10 plus yards. Yeah, if you see him lining up against Cam Sutton and it's clearly man coverage, end of story, game over, see you later. And Mike Evans is running away with the ball. It felt almost, when you're just kind of looking at it and going, I can see it coming.
Yeah.
And I'm sat at home in Manchester. There's nothing I could do about it, sadly. The injury reports for this game, just to go through them really quick, both of them are a little bit long. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, KJ... how are they organising this, man? How are they organising it? The Lions is nice and neat. Theirs is not. So, KJ Britt, linebacker, illness, limited practice, full practice. Bear in mind, this is to Thursday. The practice reports are out, so we're missing Friday. William Golston, defensive tackle, elbow limited, full. Luke Godeke, offensive tackle, concussion, limited, and did not practice today. Josh Hayes, defensive back ankle, did not practice. Logan Hall, D-end, foot, limited, full. Kalijah Cansey, D-tackle, calf, did not practice either day. Zion McCollum, CB, concussion, limited, full. Antoine Winfield Jr. has not practiced yet this week. And Tyke Smith, illness, nothing yesterday, did not practice today. And finally, the Detroit Lions, Marcus Davenport, Ifeatu Melifonwu, and Penny Sewell all did not practice. You have Kirby Joseph, who did not practice and then limited today. Isaiah Williams wasn't on it yesterday, but is on limited practice today. Jameson Williams has been limited twice. And finally, Carlton Davis, DJ Reader, and Lauren Strickland, both full practice in both situations. Thank you, Lions, by the way, for organising yours. F you, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for making yours an absolute mess. Who sticks out there? I mean, for me, DJ Reader on the Detroit Lions, he would have... Aidan Hutchinson last week won 48% of his pass rush attempt at 148, had a pass rush win rate of 48%, which is the highest since it began. 11 quarterback hits, a sack, and a tackle for loss. But that was a depleted O-line he was playing against. He's not going to get a lot of that same success this week. So he's going to need a bit more help, I think, on the line. DJ Reader would have been massive for that. Antoine Winfield Jr., though, I can't help but feel that that's a little bit tasty if you're a Lion.
Yeah, definitely. My own personal opinion. Yeah, I think the DJ Reader is going to be interesting if he does play or not. So the KJ Britt as well with an illness, he might be able to play, but we're not quite sure yet.
Yeah, he was managed 3 solo tackles on that game against
limited full on Wednesday, Thursday is normally a good sign that you'll play.
Hang on. So I've just heard. So I've gone to the Buccaneers X account. So I think their reporter Scott Smith has put linebacker KJ Britt, D-line Will Goldson, D-line Logan Hall, and quarterback Zion McCollum all improved to full participation in practice today. Only tackle Luke Godek, concussion, did not participate.
Yeah. So you've got all of those here: KJ Britt, Golston, and McCollum here, all going from limited to full, as well as Logan Hall, who went from limited to full as well today. That's always a good sign. Given that they'll usually do, Tuesday is a day off, Wednesday will be walkthroughs as well. So I think, isn't it usually Wednesdays are a guesstimation? They kind of go, oh, you look a bit sore. That's a limited practice for you today. So that's normally the case. And the only one that scares me, and I mean like genuinely scares me, is seeing Penny Sewell on did not practice.
Yeah, he needs to start. He's one of your cornerstones in that offensive line. You need him at all costs.
Yeah, absolutely, especially against a team like Tampa Bay. But like I say, that's going to be a fun game to watch. If you do, I'm so glad. I was very worried this was going to be a blackout game, just because of the implications of the game, given that they could have playoff implications, particularly later on in the season. Given that it's our season started off as a rematch at home against our wild card, then a rematch against our divisionals. I thought one of them would have, Sunday Night Football can't be, but thought this might have gone down that way. And moving on to another game that might interest us, I'm going to throw it just straight to the Seahawks Patriots. How are you guys feeling? Coming off a win that nobody expected, do you think the Patriots How do you think that sets up the Patriots? Do you think they are better than we actually anticipated, or are the Bengals just worse? And then it's a case of we'll see how we get on this week.
Go on, DJ, you take this one.
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I think the Bengals side definitely looks rusty. Definitely didn't look on the same. Like Burrow wasn't on the same page. Again, Higgins was out. He was complaining about having his wrist. I think he had a slight injury on his wrist.
When you do that means
it's still probably tight, and
it's still tight. It's not quite as good. Yeah.
But again, that defense that we've got is legit, and I strongly believe that it's elite, and it's going to be shown this year that we're going to be having a good defensive matchups. Offensive side of things, look, at the end of the day, we got things done. We did the right things. We played safe. We played conservative, and I get it. We wasn't converting the field goals into touchdowns, but we were at a pinnacle point where we didn't really need to. You were just solely kind of like putting the load on your defense, and you were just there kicking field goals, and that's all you kind of needed. You needed to get to that point to get in the field goal range. Don't fuck it up, and just take the points. Which the game plan was that at the end of the day, I do believe. So now going into week 2, it's a completely different ball game. Seattle's D is probably one of the top 3, I think, top 5 easy in the league. With the especially the secondary, Woolen and Weatherspoon, I think they're all decent players that we need to be wary of. So again, it could be another matchup where it's D versus D, and one mistake on offense could cost you the game here.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's a clean slate. It's week 2. The Bengals game's behind us now. We now kind of need to focus on what we need to do with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. I can't find anything from this week. I can find Wednesdays, but I can't find anything today so far from the injury report.
Our side, everyone was back in practice as normal except for Siddy. So he was the only guy that was sitting out of practice,
which is easily spotted because Siddy has got that bit of an injury on him. So
and then the Seattle side, I'm led to believe Kenneth Walker came up with something.
Mm-hmm. So I've got from Wednesday. So yesterday's injury report was Kenneth Walker, George Fant, Uchenna Nwosu, and Tyrell Dobson did not practice. Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Farrell Brown, Jerome Baker, Demont Jones, Reek Woolen, Trey Brown, all limited. And then Laken Tomlinson, Anthony Bradford, all full practice. And the one that I've got here for the Patriots is Siddy Soap, like you say, did not practice. David Andrews, Antonio Gibson, Anthony Jennings, Vidarian Lowe, Jabril Peppers, Ramondre Stevenson, Joshua Uche, and Dietrich Wise.
Dietrich Wise Jr.,
All in limited practice, but again, that doesn't really limited can mean just about anything on a Wednesday.
It's just having a rest. Yeah,
it's a rest day. It's a walkthrough.
Doing walkthroughs.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the only concern we have is Siddy, but we all kind of knew that one. And then from the Panthers side of things, I think it's more Walker did not practice at all, so he definitely has something concerning there. So you might start to see split of reps between the running backs for Seattle on the game day, I believe. But...
And you find as well, though, one thing, again, if you are somewhat new to the NFL and you're new to injury reports, one thing I will say as well about Wednesdays is veterans will get a day off.
Yeah.
On certain days
the likes
week.
of David Andrews will get a day off, because he's in his 30s, so he needs the rest,
So one thing I get just coming back from when I was new to injury reports, etc., just seeing some of those days off and thinking, oh no, and it's actually no, it's fine. He's just old. Anyone there I mean, going back to last week, let me just get this. I'll get a couple of them stats back up. The funniest thing, by the way, was everyone going crazy over Joe Burrow picking up the water bottle because he picked it up really weird. And he did pick it up weird, to be fair. But everyone thought then that it was clearly his hand was having a serious problem, but it wasn't. He just picks up the water bottle. Does anyone there stand out to you in terms of just the limited? Is there anyone, obviously Ramondre Stevenson in particular stands out to me there. Not saying as a worry, but who you think will be important this week, particularly going up and matching up against the Seahawks? They are in a similar position to you as well. They've got a brand new head coach.
Yeah.
They've got, and obviously Aiden Durd, as mentioned on a couple of occasions, the English defensive coordinator. So they have you don't necessarily know what you're coming up against there.
I'd probably, if I was to pinpoint it on something, you've got three kind of like past the linebackers or the edges. So you've got Wise, Ditcher's Wise, Uche, and Jennings. They all kind of play into that similar position where you need to attack the quarterback. If for some foreseen reason those three are out, then that's gonna dent the possibility of allowing Geno Smith to control the pocket and do what the fuck he wants. Basically, I think it's us as a defensive unit is trying to put as much pressure as we can to try and get him uncomfortable in that pocket, because we know he can use his legs. He's got a decent arm, but I think it's kind of like I said to Carl before, it's kind of making him wanting to make those mistakes, make him make the mistakes rather than us just worrying too much about what he can do.
Yeah.
So I think those are the three kind of key guys. Obviously, Ramondre Stevenson as well. But if we've got no pressure on the QB and the O-line is taking control of that, of what we do on our defense side, then that's where the question comes into place. Can we do the Seahawks over in this respect? So I think those three guys are key for us.
Yeah. For me, I know I might have slandered this guy on the Patriots podcast that me and DJ do, but after what Chuck's Okafor do in Week 1 against Cincinnati, we need Vidarian Lowe to be fit and healthy. Despite the fact he's not a very good tackle, he's better than Chuck Okafor. Let's just put it that way. He's key for me in that situation. And Josh Uche as well. What Keon White did, Josh Uche was on the other side causing havoc as well. He didn't get the sacks that Keon White did. White got 2.5 sacks. But Josh Uche is how would you describe him as the yin to Keon White's yang, if that makes sense. And also safety Jabril Peppers as well. He is a captain, he is a leader, but my God, he plays hard. He plays so hard at the safety position.
Pause. Sorry. And he's one of our own as well, Go Blue.
Who?
Jabril Peppers. One of our own, Go Blue.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
It was Giants.
I think he was a Giant.
Was he Lions Giants?
Or was he a Lion?
No, Michigan. He comes from Michigan.
Oh, he's a Michigan man. He's
University of Michigan.
Yeah.
Hence the Go Blue. God, you can tell you don't do the college football podcast. Come on, lads.
We only listen to it when our good buddy Nick decides to go off on one because Notre Dame shat their bed against Northern Illinois. Not the Fighting alumni of Illinois, just Northern Illinois. No, the team that hasn't been in a top 20 school in like 20 years or something along those lines. I don't know. I digress.
Anyway,
carry on.
Anyway, one more question I want to ask, and there's one thing I love being a Lions fan, that, especially over the last couple of years, is a team that can run the ball. A team that puts up numbers like Ramondre Stevenson on the ground had 1 less yard than your quarterback did in the air. I love stats like that. Well, you can even add in.
I think there's a stat you would like. So he rushed for 120 yards.
Yeah.
117 of those yards was after contact. So you better bring him down, otherwise he's passing you. That's all we'll say.
Even
the
better.
way the lad cuts as well, he makes those jukes. He's
I
on
like
another
it. I
level.
had him on my fantasy team last year, and I had him starting because, well, obviously Sleeper tells you,
Yeah.
due to have a good game, or you're probably going to put up decent points. Didn't really think much of it, and about three games into the season, I was like, I was a big Ramondre Stevenson fan. He won me a lot of games in fantasy football, not on his own, but he did me very, very well. So I do like Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm very much a
Reminds me a
fan
bit
of
of
his.
Gibbs.
Put him. Does it?
In a way, he reminds me about I
Mm.
always seem very familiar with what they do on the field.
But is this going to be a case again of alleviate some of that pressure off Jacoby Brissett? Don't make Jacob, use the run to set up the pass rather than making Jacoby Brissett win the game on his own.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a couple of scenarios where we thought Jacoby was very conservative the way he played against the Bengals, and it might have been because it's first week, playing very, very safe. But there was a few guys that were open, and he chose not to go there. He just played the safer option. Again, I don't know how that's going to go into this game. Again, the Seattle secondary is much more of a force than what the Bengals were. So he's going to have to be careful where he's going to pick his passes this week as well.
But that's what you want to see then as well. What, 15 of 24, 121 yards. You're not lighting up the league. You are being efficient with your passing.
Correct,
safe ball.
That's what you want.
We played safe ball and let the Bengals blow up on themselves.
Yeah.
Well, it worked. At the end of the day, it worked. So you can't really say
but
much.
It's not sustainable. It worked, but it's not sustainable.
Not in the long run, but at least it keeps you in games. Hero ball is great until you throw three. And Josh Allen is great until he throws a couple of interceptions. Hero ball, hero ball looks good, but they all have the pros and the cons. The Lions and you look at the Lions and the 49ers especially, they don't have baller QBs. They have QBs who are efficient with the ball, make good passes.
They're like
the ball well.
dentists. They're precision. They use precision all the time. Whereas Josh Allen just likes to use a sledgehammer. Unfortunately, unfortunately he's the one who gets knocked out also a few times. So,
but precision's great when you're a dentist, and a sledgehammer isn't, like you say. But a sledgehammer's great when you're knocking down a wall or bringing down a house. You don't want a dentist with precision with his little, the toothpick there. That's not going to help you very much. But moving on to another couple, to try and get through a couple more games that will hopefully provide some entertainment for us all. I'm going to throw to the Steelers Broncos here. And I don't particularly want to do a lot of focusing on it. The Broncos, and the Steelers managed to scrape away a win after not scoring a touchdown against a team that everybody thought was going to blow the league away this year, or at least be far, far better than they were last year. I found out a stat. Mike Tomlin is 24-6 against rookie quarterbacks. 25-6 against rookie quarterbacks. But he is 1-3 against Sean Payton. Make of that one what you will.
Unfortunately, what Denver ended up getting last week, they got the Bo Nix from Auburn, not the Bo Nix from Oregon. So that's a problem. I thought to start with Bo Nix against Seattle, I actually thought was looking okay. And then his O-line couldn't block, and then he was on his back foot, and that interception he threw was an absolute disaster class.
Yeah,
that was a disaster class. This game does have a level of excitement, but it's got a level of excitement for all the wrong reasons. Because there's a discussion going around it, has Justin Fields stolen Russell Wilson's job? And the answer to that question is no. No, not yet. What did he do in week 1 against Atlanta? He led them down the field but couldn't convert in the red zone. It relied on Chris Boswell kicking all the freaking points. So we need to see if he can actually convert in the red zone now. We need to see if he can do that. Otherwise, we're when Russell Wilson's back healthy, maybe they can then put Russell Wilson back out there. And I know that means you're taking Fields out, and that could really cause a QB controversy. But at the end of the day, you know, if you believe Justin Fields is a better version of Russell Wilson, you need to see if he can actually do it.
Yeah.
It's not like he hasn't got the weapons to throw to. He's got Pickens to throw to. He's got Freiermuth to use. He's got Najee Harris to run the ball down the opponent's throat. So, and he also has legs. He's got a set of wheels, Justin Fields, which, you know, the Steelers haven't had in God knows how many years. They haven't had it. They haven't had, well, not even throughout Big Ben's reign. So it's nice to see they've got a quarterback that's actually mobile, that can actually move. But they've got to convert in the red zone. Otherwise, this conversation is going to continue on and on and on.
Sometimes,
I think.
Sorry, go on, David.
Go on. Go. You go.
Sometimes I think games like this, you look at two terrible teams. It's sometimes a bit like watching two 13th place teams in the Premier League, like a 13th and a 15th place team go at each other in the Premier League. Or one of the, maybe it's a 9th and a 10th team who there's a few games left in the season. Maybe they could make that additional place into the Conference League or whatever the bloody hell that thing's called now. No, it doesn't promise a great day of great football, but what it does promise is entertainment. Probably for the wrong reasons, but it's going to be entertaining because both teams will always feel like they've got a chance to win this game.
Yeah,
and it's early enough in the season for them to feel like they should have it. They should win it.
Yeah, I think the both games were relatively close in week one, and any of the two could have, like Falcons could have beat Steelers, Steelers would beat Falcons, Seahawks, Broncos. I was surprised that the Broncos were still in that game, having Bo Nix throwing 2 interceptions, etc. But I think this is going to come down to TJ Watt. I think he was a force against that Atlanta Falcons offense. I think he easily kept getting through to Kirk Cousins, and if he can continue to get through to that Denver's O line, Nick's is going to be.
He's in trouble.
In a pickle. He's going to be in a bit.
You could make that a 7-man O line. TJ Watt will still find a way to get through. He's just that dude.
Yeah. So yeah, good close one.
And look, I got to watch.
Good game to watch, but yeah.
I got to watch Justin Fields twice a year for the last couple of years. I'm not the world's biggest Steelers fan. I'm going to quite enjoy watching this, even if nobody else does, for they're all the wrong.
Yeah.
In terms of just quickly going through the injury report, the Steelers have announced theirs for the day. Denver Broncos, I don't think they have. If they have, it's not been imported yet into the Steelers website. Russell Wilson limited. Roman Wilson has gone from limited to full. Darius Rush limited. Dan Moore Jr. did not practice to full. Isaac Sumalo did not DNP. Larry Ogunjobi limited full. Patrick Queen, nothing for Wednesday, did not practice today. Cameron Hayward, nothing yesterday, did not practice today. And yesterday, Garrett Bowles, Josh Reynolds, Devon Vele, and Luke Wattenberg did not practice. Jonah Ellis was limited for the Broncos.
Yep. Couple key O-line ones there.
Patrick Queen. The Queen may be dead this week. Who will be the king? That's a shout there to you, Karl, by the way.
Wow.
If you didn't notice.
The pun don't work if the real king's not there. Anyway, carry on.
I tried a thing. Let me try the thing. Another game that will provide a lot of interest, I think, is the Bengals Chiefs. If the Bengals are a lot better this week, that one could be fireworks. again, the Chiefs seem like they've maybe figured it out a little bit more on offense. They don't have butterfingers for wide receivers at the moment. Xavier Worthy looked damn good.
Yeah.
Do we still all agree that what Buffalo did in the draft was a huge mistake?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Coleman
exactly.
over
Xavier Worthy got 2 catches and got 2 touchdowns and took it to the house both times.
He's your typical Mahomes receiver. You know what I mean? He's your Tyreek Hill, for example.
Yeah, he is the next Tyreek Hill. Obviously without the traffic violations and whatever else. But anyway,
so far.
He wants to get that copper sacked, doesn't he now?
But yeah, it's like but obviously the Bengals need to improve this week going into it. You are not going to, because it's one of those games. If the Bengals don't turn up, this is not a game of the week. This is a blowout, and you're turning it off at halftime and kind of going, right, forget that. That's done. If the Bengals turn up and we get from Joe Burrow what we have always what we want to see from Joe Burrow and we know he's capable of, then you sat there with a minute and a half to go in the fourth quarter going, like this, anything could happen still.
Yeah. I mean, if that is the case, then you're going to get a good game on your hands here. I'm not sure about Higgins, how healthy he is, or we'll probably go through it now in the injury report, but I guess the looming decision as well is the Chase scenario as well. It's still seeking that contract. I'm led to believe I read something, I don't know if that's true or not, but he did reject a contract that was put forward to him.
35 million a year, I think it was.
After the Patriots game, yeah. And he refused to sign that as well. So I'm not sure what kind of money he's looking for, but again.
Who's the highest paid receiver? It's
Is it not the Lions?
Was it Jefferson this year?
I thought it might have been Jefferson. What is he, 37?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But all I know is there was a report that came out a few days ago that basically said if it might have been CD Lamb, but I think CD Lamb got just a little bit less than Jefferson. I read a report that basically Jamar Chase had asked for
Justin
1
Jefferson.
cent more.
Justin Jefferson, 35 million.
Yeah. So
he basically wants to be paid the highest paid receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, but so by a cent, which always reminds me again of when Arsene Wenger wanted Luis Suarez and Liverpool were putting a 40 million bid for him. And Arsene Wenger put in 40 million.
Stop giving me PTSD. Move the fuck on.
40 million and a penny. Yeah. It just reminds me of that. It's so petty. It's hilarious. It might not be hilarious for you, but it's hilarious for everybody else.
Yeah, I think as well. It's how the Bengals defense is going to match up with your likes of Kelsey, Worthy, Rice. Who's the other lad that they signed as well? I can't remember. But Juju, for example, he almost had a touchdown that he dropped in the last second going down. But again,
surprise.
Just to show you, it's how they're going to compete against that Chiefs offense.
So here it is. And Tom, I know you're listening. Text Big Red and say thank you for your team putting your practice report in a nice order. The Bengals are a mess like some of the others. Joe Burrow, both of them have released the practice report for Wednesday and Thursday as far as this goes. QB Joe Burrow, full practice. Wide receiver T. Higgins, did not.
Nada.
DT BJ Hill, limited then full. Titan Tanner Hudson did not practice, limited practice. DT Chris Jenkins did not practice. OT Amarius Mims, limited. Zach Moss, halfback, nothing about him yesterday, full practice today. Linebacker Logan Wilson did not practice, limited. And for the Chiefs, again, thank you, Chiefs. This one's nice and easy. Marquise Brown did not practice yesterday or today. Then linebacker Nick Bolton, DN Michael Danner, safety Nazir Johnson, nose tackle Derek Nardi, and DT Mike Pennell, all full practice. So other than
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown is the only one out for the Chiefs, it looks like.
Yeah, I think they knew that though.
One thing I will
He might
say
be a
is
couple
though for the Bengals is that the one thing they were missing in the game against the Patriots last week was their was Amarius Mims, their tackle that they got in the draft.
Yeah.
If he's limited, there's a chance that he might make his debut. This Sunday against the Chiefs, possibly. That might give Joe Burrow a little bit more time in the pocket for him to go through his reads and get that ball out. But once again, we need to see about T. Higgins. Because it's okay having Jamar Chase out there, but if Trent McDuffie's just going to completely blanket him all game long, who are you going to go to? Tanner Hudson, the guy who almost got a touchdown but then got fumbled it at the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
Who was also did not practice limited practice this week, and you don't know what he's going to look like tomorrow, and could be out this weekend.
True.
Because as I said last week, if you go we are always going to be in the unfortunate position if we don't have Friday right now, so we can assess to the full extent, because your designation from Thursday to Friday is what's the most important. But if you go from limited to full on Wednesday to Thursday, that's great. You're probably going to play because you'll probably be in full practice tomorrow. That's great for you. If you go from did not practice to limited, that's a promising sign, but not necessarily great. Because we still need that Friday. Do you increase on a Friday? Do you stay the same at limited? What's the situation going to be kind of carrying on? So, yeah, he's been in did
Where
not
is this
practice
played?
limited,
Is it
so
Arrowhead, is it?
It's
Arrowhead, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough environment to go to. And
Yeah. And finally, I think one other game that is standout has to be, well, you've either got this year's first overall pick versus last year's second overall pick and rookie of the year, or you've got the ever so slightly disappointing Atlanta Falcons against an Eagles team that looked a fair bit better than I thought they were actually going to look this year. Which one stands out more to you out of those two?
I'm probably going to go and say Atlanta, Philadelphia.
yeah, I think so.
The reason why I've gone for that one instead of Houston and Chicago is because with the Houston-Chicago game, it's going to be Caleb Williams' first game on the road. If we saw him perform anything like he did last week, then that could be massive problems ahead. Houston's defense is not as good as anybody else. Is not as good as most of the top elite teams, but they can get pressure to the quarterback, and they can cause problems. And I think Caleb Williams in a different environment might struggle. He couldn't even throw for over 100 yards last week. That's concerning in my eyes, if you want my honest opinion. Because let's be real, Chicago basically relied on their defense to bail them out of their incompetence, and also the Mayo man throwing one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in my life before.
I think he agrees. He agreed in the moment with that one, because it's just iconic seeing that picture of him on his knees going. Well, actually, to be fair, I don't think we need to focus on any specific game, but that is an absolutely brilliant shout. Caleb Williams is last week reminds me. I don't know if any of you remember that meme of the guy who there were a load of guys pushing like a pickup truck, and he stood on the back of the pickup truck pushing it. So he's not actually pushing anything, as a group of guys are on the back of the pickup truck pushing it, and it was always just like the one guy who thinks he's helping and contributing, but is actually doing nothing. With Caleb Williams helping the Bears to a win this week. But there are a couple of other interesting points this week. Anything else standing out to you?
What,
out
game-wise?
of any of the other games?
Jags, for me, Jags-Browns. And the reason being why is because we need to find out if week one was just an anomaly for Cleveland, or is this an ongoing problem regarding Deshaun Watson? We know, I think it was like 2 days before the game, I think he lost his father, if I'm not mistaken. So that if that is the case, then kind of had a bit of a mental block there. Possibly his head's not in the right place. I mean, your head would be in the right place if you lost a real close family member. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But this is football at the end of the day, and you have to pick it, and you have to put the team on your back and actually help them. I think the Browns desperately miss Nick Chubb, because I think Jerome Ford only did so much as what he could. And I just think Deshaun Watson, he reminds me of an old supercar back in the day. It used to be so good. Now there's more. Now in the modern day, there's more elite cars which are faster, slicker, sexier, but they're also more reliable. And I think Deshaun Watson's past that time now. Browns fans are hoping you get the Deshaun Watson back from 2019. 5 years ago, it was a long time.
Yeah.
My hair weren't as grey back then 5 years ago. So...
At least you had hair.
I know.
Struggling here. It's all right. When you lot get to 40, you'll realise.
He's done. Got you there, Carl. I saw a stat today. Well, per PFF, the most team pressures this week from a defense. Vikings were in fourth with 26. The Lions were in third with 27. Seattle Seahawks were in second with 29. And then the Cowboys are in first with 40. So they had 40 pressures on Deshaun Watson. The question there is, well, one, we know how good Micah Parsons is. That's not a question that anybody needs to ask. Or realistically, generally, how good the Dallas defensive front is. The question there is, the Cleveland Browns have been crying out for an offensive line properly for a couple of years now. That can't happen. And the Jags may not be the greatest team in the league. But if you're letting up that many pressures on your quarterback, and if that quarterback is Deshaun Watson, it's going to spell a bad day again.
Yeah, definitely. But the Jags defense is sneakily good. They caused Miami all kinds of problems last week, and if that offensive line doesn't hold up, that could be really detrimental. This is a crossroad. We can't really go into too much detail because it's only week 2. We can't say a team's at a crossroads. I think it's too early to say that. But Cleveland know they're in a very tough division. They know the Bengals will get their stick together. They know that the Ravens right now, they're probably going to end up being 2-0 after week 2, and they're going to be behind the 8 ball. The Steelers, shock and horror, they might be 2-0 after week 2. If they fall to 0-2, it's not a big gap to be behind, but it's sizable compared to how competitive the AFC North is. Jacksonville, on the other hand, I believe they have a little bit more. They've got a little bit more give, but I also think their team can pick apart. They've got some good receivers. Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU got his debuted touchdown last week, so that's a go-to guy. I think Trevor Lawrence is very looking much forward to. He's still got Christian Kirk there as well. So, and also, if Travis Etienne hadn't fumbled through the flipping end zone, the Jags probably win that game as well. Yeah. So, the finer details, taking care of the ball, finer details for the Jags, and they probably will, and they probably could beat the Browns in this game. But this is my intriguing one, because this Browns team, they've got to get something going. Otherwise, that glaring question is going to come out in the media again. Is Deshaun Watson cooked? Do they need to put Jameis Winston in?
And you talk about the receiver. Did you see the pass for that Brian Thomas touchdown? That was one hell of a throw by Trevor.
By Lawrence, yeah.
He's to have a quarterback who's got those throws that they can pull out of the bag. Say what you want about the Jacksonville. A lot of people will say what they want about the Jacksonville Jaguars. No one's ever needed my permission to do it before. But at the end of the day, you can't go wrong when you've got pulling out the bag like that. DJ, what else is interesting you this week in particular?
I've got one game that I've got my eye on for this week, and it's the Saints versus Dallas. Reason is because I want to see, is this just a fluke because the Panthers are that bad that the Saints managed to put up 47 against them? But going back to the Saints team, I think, and I've got a feeling that this is coming together as a unit now. They've been struggling in the last couple of years. But Derek Carr, 19 for 23, 200 yards, blaster of a game. Alvin Kamara looked like the old Alvin Kamara that we know. But again, is it because it's the Panthers that have contributed between that? You mean you've got 5 sacks as well from 3 from Taylor, 4 in total. So the pressure's there from the defensive line to get to the quarterback, but I'd like to see what they can do against this Dallas Cowboys team, because then we'll definitely know if this team is legit this year.
Look, if I'm very, very honest with you, and I mean, I said on Monday that I've said some things over the last couple of weeks about the team that I probably shouldn't have. And I ate my words on Sunday, but yeah, the Saints only beat the Panthers because they are that bad. And
you got something thrown up.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think of it the doghouse again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It is a very interesting game. Putting it down to maybe, I do genuinely think as well though that part of that is the Panthers really are that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, remains to be seen. As we kind of close out this episode, I have asked each of you to bring us forward something each week. Sam, unfortunately, could not be here, so I'm just going to rattle through. We ask Sam every week because Sam's bread and butter is fantasy football, and we asked him to give us forward a start, bench, and cut every week for your fantasy football team. He's going to focus on individual positions. So Sam's start, bench, and cut for this week is tight end. So we want you to start Cole Kmet.
Ooh.
Bench David Njoku, and you can cut Luke Musgrave.
David Njoku's out injured.
Njoku might be injured.
He is injured.
But to be fair, David Njoku, you wouldn't want to cut him even if he was injured, because you don't want to lose that potential when he's back. So if someone you'd always want, I think I would generally keep or bench him. Definitely not cutting him. DJ.
Yeah, I kind of agree though. They're good. They're good. Sit, bench them and cut guys there. So yeah, I kind of agree with what Sam said there.
DJ, I believe you have a statistic for us this week that could add some spice going into the week.
So, welcome to DJ's Stat of the Week. Right, so, since 1990, history has shown that teams that are victorious on their opening season games are more likely to advance to the playoff. In contrast to that, though, teams that have lost, that will go 0-1, although it's not impossible to overcome it, there is a slight percentage of 25% that lost season opener advances that do go to the playoffs, including 4 of those teams in 2023, which was Buffalo, Houston, even the Chiefs and Steelers all lost their opener but made the playoffs. So it's kind of like saying, look, we've lost week 1, but hey, we can still go and make the playoffs. No worries.
I think, what was it? Is it 54% of teams that win week 1? Is it
54% that go into week 1, 1-0, actually go and make the playoffs. So we're making the playoffs.
So that'll work out just like you've got double the chance if you win an open. But like you say, it's not exactly the end of the world.
Nah.
I can't remember which one is it. Is it it starts getting ridiculously small if you go 0-3 or something like that. It was like if you go 0-3, then you have like there's only like two
I
teams in
think
history have ever made
that
it.
would be very
That's
low
one
percentage.
to look forward for. What we can look for in a couple of weeks anyway, when those kind of stats make their way in front of us. And Karl, finally, would you like to give us your betting tips of the week? And do they involve Christian McCaffrey?
They don't involve Christian McCaffrey, no.
Oh, I don't
So, right, I'm just going to keep this. I'm going to keep this sweet and straightforward. Okay, so what I've decided to do for this week is look at the over and unders in games. So this is where I think you'll find you can get your winnings from. So my 5 over unders is this: the Baltimore Ravens are -8.5. You should be taking. You should be taking the over on that one with the Raiders game. This to me is a get right game, and I think this is going to be an absolute massacre. Pats and Patriots and the Seahawks, take the under on the points on that one. Dallas against the Saints, take the over on that one. I think that's going to be an absolute high scoring game, or it may just be a high scoring game for Dallas, and the Saints just prove what we think they might be, which is frauds. Don't say that to your wife, for Christ's sake. One game, and the Pittsburgh game against Denver, take the under. Please, for the love of God, take the under. This is not going to be a high-scoring game at all on that one. And then to really put the cat amongst the pigeons here, take the over on the Packers versus the Colts. Even though they don't have Jordan Love, I can just sense that this game might be a bit high scoring than what a lot of people think it is. So those are my five. So those are my Yep, so those are my 5 tips for the game, for all of those 5 games. And you'll be able to check them out, obviously on Hurdle Line as well on their X account, and they'll all be posted there. So, and remember, people, gamble responsibly. Don't be a donut.
Don't go out here now and start putting on Jordan Love to hit over 300 yards like people were doing.
So Jordan Love's going to be starting as Malik Willis.
That's if Jordan Love.
That's his point. Imagine.
Doesn't.
Oh, what, you think Jordan Love's going to hop around on one leg like he's the knight from Monty Python, the Holy Grail? Oh, it's just a scratch. I've had worse.
There was a clip this week that I saw. Now, I can't tell you what it was from, whether it was from an actual game or whether it was from a commercial or something. But essentially, you've got quarterback snaps the ball, launches it deep. And you know the bit as the kind of, like, when you're playing like hurry up offense in the last 2 minutes or whatever, and they're all rushing to get to the line of scrimmage where they can spike the ball.
Yeah.
2 old linemen pick the QB up and carry him up the rest of the field. It was just said there, the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love this week, so they don't have to start Malik Willis. Which I thought was hilarious. Now, my number one thing this week has always been, I've been looking at the Steelers Broncos game and saying, no matter what, take the under on points. Just take the under. That's not going to be a high scorer. Well, on that note, I think that just about covers it for us this week. Thank you both of you for joining me on this Thursday night. I will let you go get to bed. David, I know that you've got to get up in about 2 hours to pee, so I will let you get to bed.
To pee?
Yeah, well, because you've reminded us how old you are on numerous occasions, so I thought...
No, I've got my bag attached. It's all right, mate.
I should do that. That's actually a really smart idea. Although now every time you get on a podcast, I'm just going to think, has he got a bag on him? That's not a good thing. That's not a good place to start any podcast, really.
Or the portable thingamajig that you get free from the hospital. You just pee.
Bedpan. Sat on a bedpan.
Yeah.
On that note, I think that's where we know it's time to kind of go, okay, I think it's time to go. Enjoy football tonight, gents, if you're going to watch it. Enjoy football all weekend, and we'll talk about it in the group chat. Something I don't do
lads.
very often, and I need to start doing. drop us a comment, obviously, if you're watching on the YouTube, if you're listening on your podcast provider, drop us a rating. Please try and make it 5 stars, but be honest. So, obviously, 5 stars. Get in touch with us on social media, AAW_network on Twitter, AAW Network on Instagram, the Asleep at Work Network on Facebook, even though we post once every 3 weeks on there. Get in touch. Let us know your thoughts. Follow my wonderful co-hosts. The links to their social medias will be in the description. And come chat football with us. See you later.